Dak Prescott continues to thrive without CeeDee Lamb, while Jacory Croskey-Merritt finally has a breakout game. We react to Week 5 fantasy performances on today's episode of Locked On Fantasy Football.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NFL fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Fantasy Football Podcast. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. I'm one of your co-hosts, Michelle Magdziuk, and when I'm not doing this, I'm a researcher and fantasy analyst with NFL Network.
And I'm your other co-host, Vinnie Iyer. When I'm not doing this, I'm writing about NFL fantasy and betting for sportingnews.com.
Today's episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. On today's episode, we are going to react to some of the best and worst fantasy performances of Week 5. Players whose stock is up and whose stock is down heading into Week 6. And then at the end of the show, we will start with our waiver wire rankings to get you all situated for when you have to make those pickups on Tuesday night. Let's start with some of the most, the best performances who guys' stock are rising heading into this upcoming week. And it has to be Dak Prescott now because it's been back-to-back good weeks. He not only did it at home in Week 4, he also did it on the road against the New York Jets, putting up 4 passing touchdowns. And he's doing it without CeeDee Lamb, which is really interesting that he's actually caught on fire after losing his number one guy. But, I mean, his upcoming schedule looks good, too, against the Panthers and Commanders the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, just lining up with the schedule very well. I mean, he did it against the Packers, who were a very tough pass defense in the previous week. And the tie, the Jets, we know, they're just a dumpster fire in terms of their defense right now with Aaron Glenn. I don't think they know what they're doing. They absolutely had no chance. They were giving up long balls, short balls, running game. It didn't matter. I mean, so the Jets were just a great matchup here overall. The Broncos playmakers should enjoy that one this week in London. Now, with Dak Prescott, he gets another team that he can manage this week, the Panthers. And that's not a shutdown defense by any means. They have their moments, but it should be another team that Dak lights up. Really, the only disappointing game he had was against the Bears of all teams, who are not a very good defense. So as long as he's just relentlessly passing at this high volume, Javonte Williams is kind of the complementary closer in the running game. Look, Brian Schottenheimer is calling some great games here. He's attacking the defense with a bunch of guys. It doesn't matter who's out there, right? George Pickens, if they need to get him to big play deep, they do it. We will talk more about Ryan Flournoy. That's how you say it, Ryan Flournoy, much later in the show. But he has 100 yards receiving, and Kevontae Turpin misses the game along with CeeDee Lamb. So Pickens also does it with the long TD for him. So Jake Ferguson, all of a sudden, he's scoring touchdowns. He had 2 in this game. So Dak is just locked in right now. I don't care what people say. I think a lot of people are going to blame Dak when the Cowboys eventually fall apart here again. But right now, all the credit goes to Dak coming back from the injury last year and looking really good and needing to carry this offense at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Bill Croskey-Merritt, Jacory Croskey-Merritt, whatever you want to call him. I mean, we were giving up hope on this Commander's backfield, right? There was a 3-headed monster with Chris Rodriguez, getting the majority of the work for the first couple weeks there without Austin Eckler and Jeremy McNichols getting work. But then all of a sudden this week, it was all Croskey-Merritt getting 14 carries, 111 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, another 2 receptions for 39 yards in the air. And the other guys, I mean, they were just way less involved. Rodriguez had 5 carries. McNichols only had 1 carry. McNichols had 1 reception. Well, Rodriguez didn't have any. So, I mean, if they keep this up, right, it's been such a confusing backfield, but maybe now they're finally going to the rookie and he balled out. So I don't know why they would go away from that. And yeah, he was on a lot of people's benches this week, but that's okay as long as they're actually going to continue utilizing him. Now you can feel better about plugging him in the future.
Yeah, this just shows you the big difference with Jayden Daniels in there. I mean, before you had Austin Eckler, but you didn't have Jayden Daniels. And then you had Terry McLaurin, and then you didn't have Terry McLaurin. Now this tells you the Daniels effect. He's just going to help the running back quite a bit because you got to worry about Daniels and what he's going to do. And also, Daniels is not going to turn the ball over. He's going to be clean in his game. So they're going to get more opportunities to score. And they have a chance to play with a lead like they did here against the Chargers. I know they were behind early, but then they took control of the game thanks to JCM/Bill doing his thing here. Got 111 yards on the ground, 2 rush TDs. So as long as they're playing ahead, I think he's the guy that they're looking for. We don't want the Commanders to fall behind. I don't think that's going to happen this week against the Bears. That's a team you can run against, and they're at home on Monday night. So I think that continues here. So really we just need the right role for Bill to emerge, and it did, because the rest of the Commanders' offense got a big boost. Look, Marcus Mariota did as well as he could, but they're involved in a lot of shootouts. They had the loss to Atlanta. This just cleans up a lot of things with Daniels in there. And look, if he's a lead back and he's a guy getting the key touches, much like Brian Robinson Jr. was for a short time, then he's going to be the man you want to play. And again, you look at him as an RB2 almost every week.
Now, Quinton Judkins continues to just get so much volume. Another 23 carries for the Browns on Sunday, 110 rushing yards. Didn't get into the end zone, so it wasn't a massive fantasy day, but he's just going to be an every week must play because of the volume he's getting, and he's succeeding on the ground with good efficiency. Rico Dowdle, as long as Chuba Hubbard is out, I mean, he was the running back 1 on the week for week 5. 206 rushing yards, a rushing touchdown, and he gets the Cowboys next week, who, can be run all over. So Rico Dowdle, if Chuba Hubbard's out, keep playing him. But Michael Carter is really the guy I want to talk about for the Cardinals, because we know that James Conner and Trey Benson won't be back. Benson won't be back anytime soon. Conner definitely won't be. But instead of Amari DeMarcado being the main guy, it was Michael Carter with 18 carries. Not great efficiency, only 51 rushing yards, but he had a rushing touchdown and he had 5 receptions, finished with 15.8 fantasy points in half PPR. While DeMarcado, loses the game. I mean, there's so many things that lost the game for the Cardinals at the end of that game, but DeMarcado drops the ball right in front of the end zone, not forced, by the way. He just decides he doesn't want to hold on to it any longer. I think Michael Carter is going to be the guy that continues to get the workload here.
Yeah, and we also saw an appearance by Bam Knight. He banged into the end zone as well. So I think they want to be a power running team in the end. I mean, DeMarcado's role was pretty defined. Like, he had the long run that didn't turn into a touchdown, but he was going to be the third down back. I think they like him in that role. I don't think they want to pound him in other spots. Like, if he had the touchdown, he would have been the best play of that group. But now, with the fumble, he's now in the doghouse of Jonathan Gannon going into this matchup with Indianapolis, where there's a chance to have a little bit of success. It wasn't all that great for Ashton Genty, but the Raiders got so destroyed in that game where they didn't have the carries. Now, Carter, I think, is the best of what you can get in this situation, but the Cardinals always won't be playing from ahead either. So we'll have to see if Carter, who had this role briefly with the Jets, right, the third down type back, if he can kind of assume those duties for DeMarcado, as well as getting those red zone touches and maybe playing a little ahead of Bam Knight in those situations, will be great. And look, Judkins, he just comes through. I think Dylan Gabriel actually helps because he doesn't turn the ball over, and you get the Steelers run defense this week, and then Rico Dowdle, revenge game. He's already laid it out. He's already thrown down the gauntlet ahead of facing the Cowboys. So I don't think there's any way the Panthers are going to rush Chuba Hubbard back into action. And even if they did, you got to give Dowdle one more chance here to get going. It might be a split backfield when Chuba comes back.
Now, Emeka Egbuka had an amazing game for the Buccaneers, a career high 163 yards with a touchdown to go with that. He now has back-to-back games, the 100 yards and a touchdown. He is the wide receiver 3 in fantasy this year, behind only Puka Nacua and Amon-Ra St. Brown. If you drafted him, you got a steal, and he's an every week top 10, projected player. But I want to ask you about these 2 wide receivers who had big games this week, and who do you trust more moving forward? Is it Stephon Diggs, who put up 10 receptions for 146 yards against his old Buffalo Bills team on Sunday night? Or is it Jalen Waddle, who went 6 for 110 and a touchdown in the first game without Tyreek Hill? Like, was this just a revenge game for Stephon Diggs? And then can you trust Waddle moving forward?
I think you have to feel better about Waddle, because we try to force in Malik Washington as something here, but it's really going to be pretty simple for the Dolphins. It's going to be thrown to Devin Achane. It's going to be thrown to Darren Waller. It's going to be thrown to Jalen Waddle. These are the 3 principal guys in their offense right now without Tyreek Hill. They're not going to involve too many people, where in the other situation, right, Stephon Diggs, they still can spread the ball around. I mean, you've seen Keishon Boutte, you've seen Hunter Henry. You've seen a lot of different people catch passes for the Patriots. I think Diggs is by default the go-to guy. The matchups here are pretty okay. You get the Chargers this week for the Dolphins. You get the Patriots going to the Saints, so that's not bad for Stephon Diggs either. I think they're both wide receiver 3s. Just don't be disappointed if there's some really clunker weeks from these guys. I think Waddle actually is more of a wide receiver 2 with the volume he's going to get without Tyreek Hill. So I think Diggs, I would just temper my expectations. Again, there was a little extra motivation. I think he made that clear for this game. And look, New Orleans, he has history against them too with the miracle there in Minneapolis. So he knows this team pretty well that he's going to face. But again, I trust Waddle a lot more than Diggs going forward. And Book had really crazy, Michelle, that there's only 3 people that have been better in the receiving yards category than him this year. Puka Nacua, Justin Jefferson, and Jackson Smith-Njigba. That's it. So he's up there with everybody. Just forget rookies, veterans. He's just been one of the best receivers in the league, period.
Yeah, and only Amon-Ra has more receiving touchdowns than him. Now, 2 tight ends, so just to remind you, you could just play him. Darren Waller, we were just talking about Jalen Waddle for Miami. Waller stepped up too. I mean, the 2 games since he's been back in the NFL has been great. He hit 5 for 78 and a touchdown this last week. As long as he's healthy, you can play him in your tight end spot, especially with how bad the tight end position has been. And then Dalton Kincaid, he's now the tight end 2 on the year, had another great game last night, 6 for 108, his first big receiving yard game. He's been scoring touchdowns throughout the year, and now he got it done through yards this week. So keep plugging in those 2 guys. We're going to transition to guys whose stock just is looking down, or we're getting a little bit worried about as we enter week 6. We'll get to that right after a quick break. This episode is brought to you by Square. Your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that truly make the neighborhood feel like home, whether it's the local sports bar packed on game days, the coffee shop that knows your order by heart, or the corner deli that's been serving your community for decades. These are the places that bring people together. When neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. There's a great sports bar right in my neighborhood that comes alive anytime there's a Houston team playing a game that day. The energy is incredible, and it feels like the entire town is there cheering on their city. Spending money there doesn't just support the business, it supports the people behind it and the community around it. Those local spots are what make the neighborhood feel like home, and so many of them run on Square. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/LockedOnNFL to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square, see you in the neighborhood.
This episode is also brought to you by Mazda. And look, with Mazda moving the game forward, it's for those who believe in not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward clearly is Drake May. What a play he made. He was about to be sacked, got the ball out to Stephon Diggs, as we mentioned, had a big game. The Bills get upset by the Patriots. It's a big win for the Patriots. Drake May goes into Buffalo, wins, and shows that the Patriots won't be pushed around anymore in the AFC East, that they're going to challenge them maybe all season long. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, Michelle, it is time to continue the show, and we got to talk about the negative energy here. Now, for all the stuff that we're watching with Bill going off against the Chargers, Jayden Daniels out there, not a lot of Zach Ertz. There was no Terry McLaurin. You didn't see Debo score. It was a tough game here for Jayden Daniels, his first game back. Do you think this is an anomaly with Bill scoring the 2 touchdowns? Do you think it'll all get better this week against the Bears?
So it's not so much about Jayden Daniels, just like he still scored 17 fantasy points. It's not like he destroyed your team, and he's not in this category to say he's not like playable or anything. It's just that right now throughout the year, he has not proved to be worth his draft cost, right? He's not doing what he did last year. He has yet to score more than 20 points in a game. It's been 20, 19.7, and 17.1. For that draft cost that you were paying up for him, that was the Lamar Jacksons and Josh Allen and all that. He needs to be scoring more points. So it's just something to start to think about. Maybe he doesn't need to be ranked as a top 5 guy every week, or maybe he'll bounce back and, start scoring touchdowns at a higher rate. But that's just something I'm keeping an eye on.
Yeah, I think having Bill, a good back that can finish, it doesn't really help because that takes away some potential touchdowns from Jayden Daniels on the ground. We know that has to be a bigger part of what he does. And he's also missed time. It's just going to come with the territory. It's coming with Lamar Jackson right now. You drafted, that's why we kept saying Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts. They're more reliable. They're more durable. They proved it more in the past. Daniels missed time even last year. So that's where you were going to go with the availability. And again, it stinks that Daniels has missed time and he's already cost you a little bit. Lamar has missed time. So again, that's just part of it as well. They're smaller runners the way that you usually see, where Hurts and Allen are kind of freaks of nature with how big they are. They're not going to let you down the same way. So keep that going, because I think Hurts and Allen need to be 1-2 picks here. Now, Justin Herbert is a roller coaster ride. I don't know what's up with this guy. Like, he should be consistently very good, killing it each week. He had a total clunker against the Giants defense. I mean, look, Spencer Rattler carved them up this week. So that's more on Justin Herbert. And then what's going on? The Commanders, they start out hot. Ladd McConkey gets a touchdown, makes his managers a little bit happier. Not a big game otherwise. And then Justin Herbert just kind of disappoints overall in a matchup where, again, he should have put up some numbers.
Yeah, last 3 games, 14.6, 12.5, and 14.6 fantasy points after the first 2 weeks having good games. He hasn't thrown more than 1 touchdown in any of the last 3 games. And it doesn't really make sense, because this is by far, I feel like, the best weapons he's worked with. Like, Quentin Johnston has come alive and been scoring touchdowns. Keenan Allen is back and doing his thing. Like you said, he's still, Ladd McConkey's in his 2nd year and is still a good wide receiver. He has a Marion Hampton in the backfield to help out too, so defenses can't just worry about the pass. So I'm confused why it's not better for him. And so again, I don't know if Justin Herbert has to be a must play wide receiver. Now, he plays Dolphins this week, so I'm playing him for sure if I roster him, but it doesn't mean that every week you have to start Justin Herbert.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, Marion Hampton got a little bit banged up in the game. They couldn't run all that well, so you think, okay, there's going to be volume for Herbert. They were also trailing by quite a significant margin going midway through the 3rd quarter into the 4th quarter. So you thought there was at least going to be some garbage production, the way we kind of got from Justin Fields late in that game, by the way, against the Cowboys. So we thought at least there's that. When you don't get the garbage in those type of things, that really kind of hurts what you're looking at fantasy, because sometimes you're counting on it. And with a guy as talented as Herbert, that's not excusable. Now, look, the rookie running backs, Quinshon Judkins is doing his thing, but Ashton Jeanty kind of underwhelmed that blowout. Hampton didn't have the big game. Just as we were talking them up, of course, Bill goes off, and some of these other guys that we were high on don't. Woody Marks, 7 carries for 24 yards. They involved Nick Chubb quite a bit. C.J. Stroud had 4 touchdown passes, so that also came into play, that none of them were to Marks. The Ravens defense stinks, so they could do whatever they wanted. Now, Woody Marks, I think maybe, is he a game script a little bit dependent guy? Because Texans haven't played with a commanding lead all year long and exploded offensively. So maybe they need to be in a position where they're in a bit of a shootout, or a situation where maybe they start slow and need to get a spark in their offense.
Maybe, but yeah, this was highly disappointing because Nick Chubb led the backfield still in carries. Woody Marks struggled on his 7 carries, didn't get a touchdown, and then didn't get a reception, only 1 target. And like you said, the Ravens defense is terrible. It was a blowout win, so you would have thought even more opportunities, but that is just not the case. So for right now, Woody Marks needs to stay on the bench. Now, Travion Henderson also needs to stay on the bench. I mean, we keep waiting for him to get more and more work. It's not happening. And Ramondre Stevenson stole the 2 touchdowns. So with Henderson, it's we can all want him to get more work and say how good he could be if he was a lead back, but it's just not going to happen right now. So I'm not saying to drop him, but you got to just keep him on your bench. And then one veteran who I'm sure most people have been starting every week, Alvin Kamara, another bad game for him, 7.5 fantasy points. He only has 8 carries in the game for 27 yards, splitting the carries with Kendre Miller. And again, the receiving work just isn't there. 4 receptions, 28 yards. For any other running back, you'd say, okay, cool. But now for Alvin Kamara, when that's where majority of his points have come from, right? In previous seasons. So Kamara, I don't know if you draft him, you're really upset. He's only averaged 9.7 points per game this year with under 10 fantasy points in each of the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, the surprise with Spencer Rattler, all of a sudden they're like letting him loose and do the things that I thought they were going to do with Tyler Shuck. I mean, I think they're developing more confidence, Kellen Moore, each week. You saw the big deep shot he threw to Rashid Shaheed, trying to stretch the field. So they're starting to feel a little bit more with the wide receivers and the checkdowns. Juwan Johnson also did not have a good game in that one. That these Kamara shorter passes, maybe they're putting Rattler in more comfort level that they didn't necessarily put Derek Carr in, right, to let things loose at some point. So Kamara, yeah, maybe he's just slowing down a little bit. He's had his share of attrition and ankle injuries, but at the same time, you didn't necessarily see Kendry Miller go off at the same time. So it could be just an issue overall with the Saints and how they want to approach offense. They still think they want to be a little bit pass happier with their situation with Kellen Moore. You'd think that would help Kamara, but again, some of these teams are just not thrown to the backs the way we thought. And with Henderson, look, welcome to the Patriots backfield. Why is it like the old Patriots backfield? Because it is the old Patriots backfield with Josh McDaniels. He can be fickle from week to week. Stevenson even fumbled. Let's say he can be fickle from one half of the game to the other. I thought Stevenson was going to be a doghouse. He comes in and gets the 2 touchdowns annoyingly. I was playing against him. And you got to be kidding me. Stevenson was doing nothing. He scores twice against me. But that's the Patriots' nature. And, yeah, that's something you just have to live with a little bit with these backs.
Yeah. And then one wide receiver that the stock has to be way down. It's Jameson Williams, 1 reception, 9 yards. He gets that contract extension before the season, but the production just hasn't been there. He had 1 good game so far this year, then the 4 busts. I mean, under 5 or fewer fantasy points in 4 of 5 weeks. It's just too many weapons to go around in this offense, and they keep winning games. So I don't see them changing it up. It's just he's gonna be very big play dependent still. And I don't think Jameson really, like, unless there's a really good matchup where like he can exploit defenses deep. I don't think you have to play him.
Yeah. Also, the Lions defense is playing well. Like, this is another sneaky thing that's happening. I know the Bengals were just basically handing them the ball a lot of situations, but we like Sam Laporta a lot, and he had to be the go-to guy of the game. The matchup just called for Sam Laporta to smash. He hit that number that I had, like I think 37. He went almost 100 yards in that game. So when he does that, and Amon-Ra is going to get his, and the backs are going to score each, right? Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. There's not a lot of room for what you want from Jameson Williams. So I think you have to be in a calculated spot. Look carefully if that team is giving up some deep shots. Maybe also think about playing him at home more so, where Jared Goff hits on those longer touchdowns. So all these things need to be considered, but maybe the Lions need to be challenged more. They'll be challenged this week. They're playing the Chiefs, so I think that'll help. Maybe Jameson Williams, although the game is on the road.
Now we're going to get into some waiver wire priorities for this upcoming week. We've had some injuries that you might have to fill the spots for. We've talked about a lot of disappointments, so we'll help you figure out who to pick up and who to just let stay out there on the waivers right after a quick break.
All right, this episode of Locked On Fantasy Football is brought to you by FanDuel, and it's an exciting time of year because we're almost into Week 6. We have one more game here between the Chiefs and Jaguars to check out, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss as we go into this next part of the season. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you would unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. FanDuel makes watching games even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better for you. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started with your betting action here in Week 6. All right, Michelle, it is time to close the show with some waiver wire advice, and there's actually some help out there. We talked about Michael Carter a lot, where he looks like the best bet out of the Cardinals backfield right now to target on the waiver wire for help. Now let's get to the guy that's hard to say. We'll try to get to it one more time. Ryan Flournoy. That's how you say his name. It's not Flournoy. it's Flournoy. But we have to get to know a guy that puts up 100 yards receiving with Dak Prescott in the Cowboys offense with CeeDee Lamb and Devontae Turpin hurt. So now we get the Panthers this week. I think he's a must pick up and maybe a plug and play this week, especially if you've got, say, a Justin Jefferson or Nico Collins on a bye. You can plug and play Ryan Flournoy and get what you need this week, I think.
Yeah, I think it'd be really, really risky. But at the same time, if Herbert's still going to be out, and Lamb's not coming back, he did play 57% of the offensive snaps this past week. So if that stays up, and something must be there where Dak has that connection, because it's not just if this was like 2 receptions for 114 yards and he had a weird like 80-yard reception, we'd be saying, all right, like it was just a weird play. But this is 9 targets, 6 receptions, 114 yards. He led the team and not just targets, but also the receiving yards. Obviously, it was Jake Ferguson and Flournoy at 9 targets each. Pickens only had 4 targets in that game. So it will be interesting. Or maybe they're just trying to go away from Sauce Gardner, and maybe that's why Pickens, saw fewer targets. I don't know if he's a necessary must pick up, but if you need a 1-week fill in, right, then you can play him, because as soon as CeeDee Lamb is back, then you're not really going to want him. I do think Michael Carter's the number 1 guy to pick up. People are going to be excited about Kendrick Bourne's performance on Thursday Night Football, but keep an eye on who's returning, right? Ricky Pearsall could be returning. Juwan Jennings could be returning. We expect George Kittle to return this week from IR. And then there's still Jacob Cowing that could return, and their 4th-round rookie that could return. So once that all happens, Kendrick Bourne is going to go back to not, getting as much playing time or not seeing as many targets. So, I mean, if those guys are all going to sit again and only Kittle's coming back, then yeah, Kendrick Bourne could be an option for pickup this week.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you have to look at it, and the fill-in opportunities, don't ignore. I mean, everyone, again, was on Demarcus Robinson, but you have to look at the guy who's been the guy all the time that they need. If they need to get some help, it's been Kendrick Bourne on the other side of the phone, ready to help Kyle Shanahan wherever he needs. Now, the Browns are an interesting transition right now. It's all about the rookies. It's like David Njoku and a bunch of rookies right now. You have Dylan Gabriel on defense. You have Carson Schwarzenegger. You have Quinshon Judkins. And another rookie, Isaiah Bond, is going to have to continue to have a bigger role here with Cedric Tillman not available. Jerry Jeudy, I don't think this was a good move for Jerry Jeudy with Dylan Gabriel in there. But look, there were not many wide receiver opportunities. It was a dink and dunk tight end type of game for Gabriel. I think they'll slowly up in the offense. It's the Steelers this week. So I don't know. Bond, I think, needs more opportunities. They said they want to get him more opportunities, but I think you need to see Gabriel kind of open up the offense. I think you'll probably see in a couple weeks happen there, but Bond is worth maybe a speculation pickup in deeper leagues.
No, I think Isaiah Bond would be one of my favorite pickups. If you're not hurting for someone this week and you want to pick up a player that you think can break out towards the second half of the season, his targets have increased every week. He had 8 targets in yesterday's game. Yeah. It did only turn into 2 receptions for 29 yards. He had a good end zone target too. It was just really, really good defense. So that's what when watching him, I'm like, this is a guy I want to pick up. Like I said, the targets have increased each week from week 1 being 1, then 3, then 4, then 6 in week 4, and then 8 in week 5. Isaiah Bond was supposed to be an early round draft pick, right? Second round draft pick, but he got into some legal trouble. So the talent's there for him. And as the team starts to trust him more and more, I do think he can break out as long as they can figure out this quarterback position just at least a little bit. Rashid Shaheed's an option you could pick up. Mm-hmm. What about Calvin Ridley if he was dropped? Because he was doing absolutely nothing. And then, of course, once people give up on him, he has a big game. It gets 10 targets in the game, over 100 yards. Is Calvin Ridley someone you would want to pick up if he was dropped?
Yeah, I mean, he should have been doing this earlier. I don't know what was going on. I mean, the rookie quarterback needs his help, and if he has a big game and they win, you figure they want to stick with this formula a little bit more. They get the Raiders this week, so definitely Calvin Ridley comes into play. How stinky the Raiders have been. He's a little bit built like Michael Pittman Jr., who just had a good game against the Raiders, so that's helpful. So Ridley's definitely a pickup, plug and play. Shaheed you can think about as well, because the Patriots can struggle with some speed receivers on the outside. So there's something to think about with Shaheed. And look, things are opening up. As long as they're going to let Spencer Rattler throw more downfield, Shaheed is going to be involved. So, yeah, a lot of options this week. If the 49ers injuries continue, you could look at Bourne, but Bond, Flournoy, Shaheed, Ridley, a lot of guys you can plug and play again, especially for people that have Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and Nico Collins just looking for 1 week option.
Yeah. And then we didn't bring up 3 running backs that obviously I think they probably would have been picked up before this week, but maybe your league isn't as active. So, if Rico Dowdle's out there, of course, you're going to go after him. If Chuba Hubbard's gone, if Rashad White wasn't picked up with the Bucky Irving news, you're going to go after him. If Kenneth Gainwell wasn't picked up before week 4 or was dropped because of the bye, he should be picked up as well for the Steelers coming back from the bye. So those are guys to look out for. And then 3 tight ends that are interesting. You have Theo Johnson. He comes through with 2 touchdowns with Jackson Dart in that second game with him. AJ Barner, 7 receptions, 53 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And then Mason Taylor, the rookie for the Jets, was saying we were both saying to watch out for this kid that's starting to see targets a lot more as the weeks continued on. And then yesterday he sees 12 targets, 9 receptions, 67 yards, no touchdown, but 12 targets for a tight end and 9 receptions. Out of that group, who's the one that you're eyeing to pick up and start this week?
Yeah, I think it's Mason Taylor. You look at the Broncos, they're not the shutdown team against the tight end. They let Dallas Goedert score on a short play this week in Philadelphia. So Mason Taylor is definitely involved. We said this. We like Mason Taylor because you looked at Garrett Wilson, and you looked around and, they don't have any other receivers. So that's where they had to go. Now, AJ Barner's a bit fluky based on that matchup. I mean, come on. He walked in the end zone twice. They're doing a little bit of work off the running game. So, yeah, AJ Barner, I have actually no interest in. Theo Johnson's intriguing because he has caught 3 TDs in 2 weeks from Jackson Dart, but he's touchdown dependent, right? I think if you want somebody who's a little bit more expansive, you can look at Mason Taylor. We also like Dalton Schultz as a deep sleeper. He actually came through for the Texans. He won't be available this week. So maybe you're streaming tight ends and you need to go look in that direction. I think Mason Taylor would be the best play. Again, Denver's not the most shutdown defense when it comes to tight ends. It's really good against wide receivers with their corner situation. So it could be a tough game for Garrett Wilson with Pat Surtain too, and that should open things up for Taylor in this game.
Yeah, I think Mason Taylor's the top here. It would obviously be Darren Waller if he's still out there. But besides that, it's not just the Broncos this week. Then he gets the Panthers and the Bengals the next 2 weeks after that. Mason Taylor does. So those are 2 of the best matchups for tight ends available. And lastly, really quick here, if you needed to pick up a quarterback off waivers to start this week, would you rather go with Mac Jones against the Buccaneers if he starts again instead of Brock Purdy, or Tua Tagovailoa at home against the Chargers? I don't know. Mac Jones has been doing his thing. So if he's playing again, he gets back a bunch of his weapons. Against the Buccaneers secondary, I'd probably go that way.
Yeah, it seems like wherever the Buccaneers travel, a lot of points get scored. So it's because they put up a lot of points. The other team puts up points. Their defense is not all that great. So it all adds up to shootouts wherever they go. Like I kind of misread that game where I thought there was going to be more turnovers and mistakes from both teams with Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield. They just went after it, just trading touchdown after touchdown in that game. Now, this game could very much be the same if Ricky Pearsall and Juwan Jennings and maybe George Kittle can come back. This is going to be a fun game again in Tampa. So I would definitely side with Mac Jones because Tua, look, the Chargers haven't given up a lot, right? Jackson Dart didn't really do a lot of damage, and then Jayden Daniels, as we mentioned, was a little bit underwhelming. So if Tua can't run, that says let's go with Mac Jones.
That will be it for today's episode. I want to thank you all for making Locked On Fantasy Football your first listen every day. We'll be back tomorrow to start our Week 6 prep with giving you our quarterback and tight end rankings. Don't miss it. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye, y'all.